One of the things that I've seen just in the last, well, since 9/11 is how America has become more closed in on itself. When you visit an embassy now, it's more kind of Fortress Amerique. Back in the day, the ambassador was a really nice guy, and his wife would invite Peace Corps volunteers to come swim in their swimming pool. If you were to try that in the MA today, you would be shocked. It's just tense, and you are barricaded by security and protected from everything and everyone around you, other than the folks that you kind of pay to look after you. So Peace Corps experience is invaluable if you're sitting in the job as a government diplomat or working on a USAID project or working on an NGO project. That perspective of living in the field, of living like a poor person, of kind of living that whole life is invaluable in being able to sensitively and intelligently implement development projects. So another thought is technical skills. Part of the reason I've been able to get out of the international development business is I've been doing microfinance for years, which is in essence what I'm doing now in the international district. So having that technical skill allowed me the opportunity to kind of break out, if you will. It also helps to answer the question, what are you doing here, NSO? Which inevitably, that I am here to help you, that only goes so far. And so, that's something that I would look at a way of encouraging you to kind of build the value added of your experience, and then also to kind of create an escape hatch. I think, one of the things that I think all of us would probably agree on is the Peace Corps is an intensely individual experience. That it depends on the country that you're stationed in, it depends on the village that you're stationed in, it depends on the people you're working with, it depends on whether you have a job or not, and it depends kind of also on some luck. Jason and I were separated by a few years, but we were in a very different country. I was in a post-fall of the Berlin Wall, Niger, and Jason was in post 9/11 Niger. I think that, to get back to this concept of service, to me, the abiding point is that if you really are in it for service, it's not about you. And once you get to the point of it's not about me, and you can sufficiently lower your expectations as to what's going to happen next, and just figure it out, I think that's probably the best skill set that I think you could bring to a Peace Corps experience. So
2 million people. Truly, that is a small town for China standards. But kind of this immediate dilemma of how do we balance kind of modernity and development in the future with our traditions. So you see the kind of community gardens up here that they have. So yeah, it was a pretty crazy place to be. It was really fun. I really like geography, so I'm going to show you a map because China's huge. So I was smack dab in the middle of China. Everyone kind of knows Eastern Timor River. But if you know, Sichuan is here. Chongqing used to be part of Sichuan, but it was kind of separated off by the government. It's kind of this weird economic zone that they tested all these economic policies, and they worked really, really well. So Chongqing City, so Guangzhou, where I was, is about 2 million. Chongqing is about 10 million. Chengdu, where training took place, was about 14 million. And Chongqing and Chengdu are huge. There's tons of money there. There's a lot of development. When you go outside the big cities, there's not much. So again, both of them are port cities. It's all along the Yangtze River, or the Changjiang. And so the people are really relaxed. They're really fun. They love to eat sunflower seeds, smoke cigarettes. And Chongqing is known for the spiciest food in all of China. So if you've ever heard of Chongqing hot pot, that's where it comes from. So this is a guy smoking a cigarette. Since they've had just such significant economic development, within the past 10 years, they've been able to buy cigarettes and buy pork and buy all these fun things that are really not healthy and alcohol. And so it's kind of an excess. So this was actually my town. My school is behind it. And they're kind of building. China never stops building. This is kind of a different side of China you see. So I was at a vocational college, as she said, in the southern part of Guangzhou, in a province, well, in an area called Dongbao. Translates kind of as baby dragon. But, so this guy, I don't know why, they're always moving these giant boxes with bamboo sticks. And so one day I took a picture of him and he thought I was hilarious for doing that. But you have just these gardens everywhere. You can see how the buildings are just kind of falling apart and the dress is completely different. So you have really two sides of China, which was interesting to see. That's kind of an aerial view of the city. On a nice clear day, as you know, China has some pollution problems. This is a normal day. This is a, oh my god, there's sun day. So in Peace Corps, I don't know if you've heard, we've talked about it a bit. You have your primary project, mine was teaching English, and your secondary project, which I'll talk about. But the primary project I had, not all the students were super motivated or focused on learning English. There were certain majors that needed it in order to excel at their job. So if they didn't have English, really it was a difference in their salary and where they could live and whether they would ever leave their province. There were other majors that really didn't need English. So there are animal science majors, and this guy brought 11 ducks to class. We didn't learn much English that day. The other 10 were underneath his desk. And so part of Peace Corps is just kind of adapting to those ridiculous situations. But they're really fun. Some days you feel super successful, and other days you're like, okay, we're just gonna play with ducks, and that's okay. So the secondary project, so I guess going back, my primary project of teaching English, I really enjoy teaching English, but teaching is not really my passion. So on the side, you have this opportunity to really put in your passions and see what the community needs and work with them and build upon those connections you've made with them. And it takes time, a lot of time, especially if you go into a country not knowing the language, but you learn it. And so it took about a year for me to be able to talk to the people in like full sentences and explain or ask, you know, what do you need? What can I give you? I have these resources, how can I help? And so I kind of pulled the classes. They spoke broken English and we kind of worked together to figure it out. And they told me they had no resources to learn English that was fun or engaging. They had these terrible books that were actually grammatically incorrect that they were tested on. Incorrect grammar, but whatever. And they wanted a place to study that would be fun and inviting. You got Wi-Fi, and really fun books. So I established a resource room, which they decided to call the Mini Reading World, which is cute. And this is what it ended up looking like. So we got to have, this is like kind of the back room of it. We got to work with the president of the school, and I had some student liaison people that were like my ambassadors to the president, because I had enough Chinese, but it wasn't like super great, enough to like be super professional, friendly. So we could go and talk about, okay, we really want this resource room, how do we do that? That gave them awesome leadership skills and responsibilities. They led the project. So for sustainability purposes, they became, there were 2 or 3 of them, the leads, and they would elect people to be volunteers. And it's still going this day. So